Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health with Sara Banta. I'm a wife, mom of 3, and an NA&P certified supplement professional, but that's not all. I'm also the founder of the most innovative health supplement company, awarded 4 years in a row, Accelerated Health Products, a brand offering innovative, natural, scalar-enhanced supplements to optimize your health. And this podcast is not just a source of information. We're a community. We're all here to learn and grow on our health journeys. That includes me, regardless of where you are today. And this podcast is the springboard to learning, and the free group coaching on Telegram is where we continue that learning together. You can ask your questions. I post tips and tools to deepen your health on a daily basis to keep you moving forward. So here's what you can expect. New episodes every Monday and Wednesday with in-depth discussions and expert guests, hot topic issues that are in the news every Friday to keep things fun, and then the free group coaching, of course, to follow everything up. And the details can be found on my website at SaraBantaHealth.com. Have you thought about detoxing, but you're a little worried about being hangry, being on a juice cleanse, not eating real food, and being horribly less energetic, right? Well, I've created over 10 unique, easy detox cleanse programs to help you reset your body. You can start with the colon cleanse just to get pooping, the parasite cleanse, the liver cleanse, the big one, the accelerated diet cleanse that actually resets your hormones, your weight plateaus, your mitochondria, your gut, your brain, all the things. You can take my detox quiz at SaraBantaHealth.com to find out which one's right for you. And maybe you're not ready for a detox. Maybe you just want to start with a few supplements. Don't know what to start with. Just fill out my free supplement protocol on the website, and I will personally put together a protocol for you. Just by taking a few steps forward, I promise you will change your life. And the difference is I'm here to help you every step of the way. And today, our guest is so aligned with what I talk about. We are trying to optimize our health and your health, and in the guidance of God above, who is truly in charge. Dylan Gemelli is dedicated to helping people thrive through health optimization. Known for his passion for wellness, he specializes in cutting-edge approaches to enhance overall health, with a strong focus on stem cell therapy, hormone optimization, and advanced wellness strategies. Welcome, Dylan. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm great. I'm super excited about this discussion. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. We'll talk about mitochondrial health, about optimizing health, about all the things to do that. It's not just a magic pill. But I first want to get into a topic that affects so many people. Millions of Americans are born genetically predisposed to extremely high levels of a certain type of cholesterol that can cause deadly heart attacks and strokes by middle age, and they're unaware. And a lot of doctors aren't even testing it. And this is called Lp(a). So I want to get into cholesterol in general and what the difference is with this little cholesterol that no one really talks about, and what your experience has been to kind of shed light on this unknown topic.
So there's a lot to unpack with Lp(a). So what I think that is the best approach here would just to kind of give a little understanding of what it is and the dangers of everything present with it. And then I'm going to explain how I really fell into it and why it became such a passionate study of mine and something that personally happened to me. And I'll give my experience. And then I will also discuss proper and improper treatments and assessments of Lp(a) and misrepresentations that are out there that you will get from doctors that are not well versed on it. So in short, it's a type of cholesterol, and it's very similar to low density lipoprotein, or your LDL, which is our bad cholesterol, as we know. Now, Lp(a) is a combination of LDL cholesterol and this protein that's called apolipoprotein A. Now, basically what it's thought to do is contribute to the formation of plaque in your arteries, atherosclerosis, and that can narrow your arteries and it can increase the risk of heart disease and stroke. Now, LP little a is like an independent risk factor for cardiovascular disease. So when you have an elevated LP little a, you're at a much higher risk for heart attack, possibly stroke. And a lot of times what you'll see is people that have a very, very, very high LP little a have no clue. They don't know what it is. They've never heard of it. They've never been tested for it. It's something that never gets brought up when you go to a doctor. And in fact, I would argue that the two most important markers that you can check in your blood work are LP little a and ApoB. And we can get into ApoB as well in terms of what it is and how they compare. Now, the thing about LP little a, so when we talk about cholesterol and you go in and let's say you have high cholesterol, the first things that they're going to tell you to do is fix your diet, correct your lifestyle, and exercise more. This is very common knowledge for generally most people. The thing with LP little a is that really makes it terrible. That doesn't play any role. Your diet plays no role. Your exercise plays no role. So you can go modify, make all of these changes, and it has no effect. Secondly, as you kind of mentioned, this is like something that you're born with. It's hereditary. You can't control this. It's not something that you did wrong. You know what you have? Yes, some people are more predisposed to having high cholesterol in their genes or their DNA. The problem with this is that you cannot really exacerbate it or do something. You know, with LDL, you could have a bad diet. You caused it. You could not exercise enough. You caused it. This is out of your control. Secondly, because it's not talked about or discussed, you'll see a lot of people that will die young or die randomly, and you'll like, how did this happen? Like this athlete or this person. And then you kind of make an assumption, oh, they were doing this or that. When in fact, this is what I would term the most prevalent of the silent killers, because you just don't know. And then one day there's an episode. And the problem is let's say, for instance, you have plaque buildup in your Widowmaker, which is in your left. That is called the Widowmaker for a reason, because if somebody's not around you and something happens there and you don't have somebody there, you're done. You're not going to survive because it's in the worst possible spot. So here goes the question. What do we do then? Because here's the myth that you will hear. You will go to the doctor and they will tell you, one, you only test this once. Okay, one-time test, and you get a number, and it's kind of like, well, that's it. Mm-hmm. That's not it for one. Okay, you do need to have this tested, and I would urge that you have this tested very young, like before you're a teenager, so that you have some sort of an idea, because you'll see some elevation as very young, and then you can at least go, okay, I'm predisposed to this. What do I have to do? What steps are there that we can do this? The problem is the steps are minimal right now, which I'll get into. Excuse me. So we do that early check. Now, let's say you're me, like 40 years old. You don't know about this, nothing about this, and then you go get it checked and you're elevated. Well, what are they going to tell you to do? The immediate reaction to anything cholesterol related is always statin. Okay. I can go off on a long tangent about statins, but let's forget that for now, and let's just relate this to your LP little a score, okay? Statins will increase your LP little a, okay? They will do nothing to help your LP little a. And the problem is right now there's actually nothing that is there that's directed just for LP little a treatment. Now, PCSK9 inhibitors have shown and proven, and I will discuss on my own self, that they can reduce LP little a. They're generally, we're talking like Repatha, Vascepa, things like that could, they're on paper, they're shown to 25 to 35% if you're very blessed to reduce LP little a. But therein lies the problem. They tell you test this once and never test it again, because you're kind of, but then there's your double-edged sword, but these are already showing to lower it. And there's right now phase 3, I think it's Eli Lilly has one in phase 2 and one in phase 3, that they're showing like an 80 to 90% reduction in LP little a. Because right now, if you're so severe, the only thing that you could possibly do is it's a blood apheresis where they go in and you go in like weekly, and they don't really even do this. It's the most extreme case. They extract blood and pull it out to lower your score, but you have to keep doing it like every week. So just imagine going in, sitting for like an hour, having to drive to a clinic that's hours away because it's only offered in certain areas, and having this blood just drained out of you, and then having to go do it over and over. So here's the mythical side, and here's my story on LP(a). So I am an avid trainer, an avid dietitian, nutritionist. I live a very strict life, no drugs, no alcohol, eat same thing, same time, like overwork myself, even though I know I shouldn't. So I'm technically an overtrainer. But you can't, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect, but you can't do anything more precise than I do it. So one would expect at 43 years old, and the way that I train and that I eat, you would not have any sort of plaque or heart problem at all. This is by God's grace that this even happened to me. I make videos on YouTube, and there was a doctor that called out one of my videos, right? And I called him because we're talking, I'm a large influencer. Even though he's a doctor, large influencer. I got a hold of him and called him. I said, hey man, I said, first of all, I take no offense. We're doing this. And I said, I think you had it wrong. Well, long story short, we got to talking. He said, I want to hire you within an hour. So after this conversation, I start to work for him, and he says, look, he goes, I know you're in this condition. We know this, you've used some things, maybe steroid related you shouldn't have used, but very minimally. And you don't do any drugs or anything. But he said, all of my employees go get a calcium score just so I can take care of them if there's something wrong. And I was like, I told my wife, I said, you know what? I'm just going to go do what I'm told. I listen to people that know more than me. 10 years ago, I would have been like, dude, this dude's crazy. Just get out of my face. But I was a jerk, So I went and did it. And for anybody, just in short, a calcium score will give you it's basically an assessment on if you have plaque in your arteries. You do a scan. It's not precise, so it doesn't give you a precise percentage. It gives you an estimate based upon their findings, what they see on how much plaque buildup you may have in your arteries, and it'll show you the location. And you're supposed to be 0 or below 10, really 0 essentially. And the expectation was mine would be 0. So I got it. I didn't even think twice about it for my score. I really wasn't worried about it. Well, my score came back 121. And yeah, so I didn't understand right when I saw it. I knew that was like, oh, that doesn't sound great. I read the paper, and I have an understanding from all of my years and work with doctors, but I haven't done extensive at this time. This was 2 years ago. I hadn't done extensive like cardiology studies, and it hadn't made it a tip-top priority to me at the time when I should have. Essentially, with the industry I'm in, training professional athletes, steroid users, I should have more of an understanding on cholesterol. And I was more focused on liver, kidneys, organs, basic bloods. And so from there, I panicked, obviously, once I studied, and I took it upon myself to, okay, I need extensive testing here. I don't just need HDL, LDL, triglycerides. Those are your basic standard tests, okay? They're fine. We need to see them, but they don't tell you anything. Right. They don't open up the broader picture or spectrum. These are your most basic of basics. And what kills me, Sarah, is that doctors, one, don't put everybody on at least once a comprehensive cholesterol panel, metabolic panel, whatever you want to call it. And two, they're not very versed on it.
Right.
I'm telling you, these are the silent killer markers that are really going to tell you. And I'm going to tell you why they're not versed on it in a minute. But I took it upon myself. So I went and got my LP(a), my ApoB, all of that. Well, guess what? My LP(a) score was 330. Now,
and where is it supposed to be?
That's what generally speaking, under 75 puts you in like a normal range, but in all honesty, it should be 25 or below, ideally, right? Well, I found out through a lot of studies, and then thankfully, see, I'm blessed because I know the right people to talk to. Not everybody does. So I was able to talk to two people. One, I was hooked up with one of the top cardiologists in the entire United States who put me right in ahead of the line that I'm so blessed for. That's Dr. Brett Nolan. Two, another one of my close friends that I didn't really understand or know was a close friend until I talked to him, and he was a big fan of mine, and I met him through the doctor, and I ended up being close friends now. He is one of the head workers that designs Vasipa, which is a PCSK9 inhibitor. So he educated me on the difference between statins and PCSK9s. So what I did was learn and understand, one, LP little a can come down. Two, that what I explained, it's hereditary. So three, I then got in the car with my mom and my wife, drove 4 hours to the Mayo Clinic, because I thought, I'm going to go up there, I'm going to get everything prescribed, and they're going to know everything, and they're going to help me. So I get up there and I go in there, and I don't want to go in there and insult people because I'm not an MD. So I went in there and broke down what I know, everything I know, without being, I understand what it's like to have somebody try. I just basically kind of inquisitively say, well, I feel like this is what I want. I'm not comfortable with this. And they told me that it would be bad practice to put me on a PCSK9 inhibitor. There was not enough information on LP little a, and that all I needed to do was take a statin, and you have nothing to worry about. You'd be just fine. You're young. And I got into a big, and I'm a mama's boy, and I'm like my daughter and my wife and my mom. I'm so delicate with women. And this was one of those times where I just lost it on them in the car, because they're like, you just listen to them and you don't. And I'm like, you guys, no. And so I just handled it myself from there on out. So what I did, never took the statin. I got on Vasipa first, and then I got on Repatha. Repatha is a twice a month injection. Vasipa is like the most natural, purest form of fish oil. It's not like this drug, but it's like 20 times strong. It's amazing. So then I talked to some doctors, and they highly recommended niacin. Now you're going to have some doctors that are firmly against that and some that are. Now, I will argue for some it's because there's no money in it from the drug companies. You can go pay $14 a month for the amount you need. So that's a different story. But doctors now are programmed, and this is what I've learned, unfortunately. If they start writing you scripts for PCSK9 inhibitors, their insurance company is going to call over and say, guess what? You keep writing those, we're going to drop you out of our network.
Okay, that was what I was waiting for. Where's the money? Follow the money. Okay, go ahead.
They're taught in school, and I don't have the stats in front of me because I didn't know how deep we were going to go on this. I had a whole thing written up on this, on how the percentages on what they're taught in school. It's like, I think it was 70 to 80% of all of it's funded by the pharmaceutical companies when they go to school, when they go to get their education. It was, my chiropractor was explaining this to me and breaking this down. And they only have X amount of training in one, and the rest is all in drugs. And they're all programmed and told that statins are like the end all cure all. They're going to save your life. And it's so wrong, because what a statin will do for benefit wise, there's like 30 other things that'll do wrong to you. Right. And it doesn't, if you break down the studies and get through the fluff and the BS that they put there, there's like a 0.5% reduction in events, actual cardio events. So it's disgusting and it's despicable. Anyway, remember how I told you that number can't come down? You should never test it again. So I go on my therapies that I did with the PCSK9 inhibitors. I implemented niacin for quite a while. I stopped at this point. My number went from 330 to 185 in 6 months.
Wow.
Then it went to 130. And now I went from the red to the yellow and was down to 93 on my last test. Wow. Now, I've done some other things that I could discuss that I've taken, like with Mitopure, which is mitochondrial repair and increasing mitophagy, which can in turn help this. And I'm also doing some stem cell releasers that are also very possibly helping in this regard, because I'm literally almost to the point where I'm out of the yellow and into the green. And you don't want to test your calcium score or your CT angios too often. So I've been giving this time, and I've been doing other things that I know help to reduce plaque, because they'll also tell you can't reduce plaque in your arteries. And every strong naturopathic doctor that I respect tells you otherwise. And I've seen people reduce it and eliminate plaque. So I don't want to hear that either. Now, there's things like I do pomegranate juice and these things that have shown in study to reduce plaque. Okay. Now, I just got an offer to do this Ezra scan in New York here. They're going to pay for me and fly me out, and that's going to give me a big breakdown of my whole body. It checks for cancer, everything, but it'll also give me another assessment on my heart. I had a CT angio done, and there was like a 30-some% blockage, but thank God I found it early enough to where, because it would have 5 more years would have gone by and I didn't do any of this. That blockage could have been 70. That's stint time, you know? And I would have been doing cardio an hour and a half a day like I do and training every day and never know, you know? So now I've changed certain things and done certain things. But if you don't have this education and the connections like that I was blessed with, or people like myself that are willing to go discuss this and then get doctors on that'll talk about it, you'll just never know. And you'll be taking a statin and just slowly dying.
Yeah.
I mean, really, because they're trying to rob Peter to pay Paul, but they're paying 20 Pauls. You know what I mean? And it's ridiculous. So
with, gosh, so much. I mean, it's triggering so much in my brain. I feel so blessed that I've got amazing practitioners. I think are the most brilliant people in the world at my fingertips. So anytime I have a health issue, I always have like 5 people to go to and then sift through their knowledge into me and what sits with me and feels right. And this is just an overall lesson for everybody to not stop when you get the answer you're not looking for that doesn't sound right, that you are your best doctor and you need to be vigilant in this world of health, because unfortunately the medical system does not educate our doctors the way they should, and you do have to follow the money, and there are things that they may not test for because there's no money in it, right? I mean, you look at the typical blood test. I talk a lot about thyroid issues, and even the most functional doctors, I'll say, someone will come to me and say, I have hypothyroidism. Or no, better yet, they'll say, no, I've gained weight, I feel fatigued, I have brain fog, all the symptoms of hypothyroidism, but my doctor says I'm normal. Well, let me see your labs. All they test are the TSH and the T4. They're not giving that full panel. And when you said the word Widowmaker, so in my family, my dad has always said, Sarah, I have to be on a statin. I have that Widowmaker. And in my brain, I'm thinking, I wonder if he's ever had LP little a tested, or if it's just, I mean, is that connected only to the LP little a, or if you have high cholesterol, it can affect the Widowmaker?
So it certainly could with high cholesterol, but here's the thing. They crashed my LDL down to 30 something. You know how dangerous that is to take your LDL that low? Right. They were telling me, oh, you know, if it's not under 70 and this and that, no, then it needs to be under 50. And then you can't get prescribed the medication if this isn't too high and this isn't too low. And I'm going, like, what? You're wanting me to intentionally hurt myself one way and then hurt myself another way to get on something. It's so screwed up how they do this. Anyway, to your point, yes. ApoB is the marker that you really want to look at. Okay, your LDL will give you just a little snapshot into like possibly instances that may reflect in your particle sizes in your ApoB and possibly your LP little a. LDL doesn't necessarily always relate to LP little a because being it's genetic, you could have a very moderate to low LDL and have a jacked up LP little a, but generally if your LDL is in pretty good range, your ApoB is more than likely going to be in the good range. There's always anomalies and always things that are different, but ApoB is the other one that you really want to focus on when we're looking at heart risk and heart, possible heart disease, atherosclerosis, things of high concern. Those are the two that I strongly urge that you look. Keep this in mind, everybody. Don't ever let a doctor tell you can't have that test done, because you certainly can. And if you find yourself running into a doctor that tells you no and you want to reuse your insurance, go to a different doctor. And if you don't want to do that, get online. There's a million websites. I know I don't work for these, by the way. Like Private MD Labs is one off the top of my head. There's so many. You can go on there and order your own and pay for it out of pocket and go right and do it, and it won't cost you that much money at all. And there's all kinds of people that have codes for you to use. Go do that, or go find yourself a good naturopathic or alternative medicine doctor. They're all over the place. Trust me when I tell you, and they're more than happy to have you come to them, and they're more than happy to run those blood panels for you, because the people that go out and do their own, they're not doing it for money. They're doing it because they hate the system, and they're doing it because they have a real passion and care for all of us. Trust me. Okay, there's always a few outliers out there, but generally speaking, people go do that because they care, right? And they're on a mission. And some of the, I don't go to too many people for information, but we all have mentors, and we all have to go to people for questions. And my best people are all on their own. They're all doing it on their own, aside from Dr. Nolan, who pretty much has one of his own. It's a big practice, but he's like the head there, and he's just a different breed, you know. That's what you have to do. You have to, it's unfortunate, and it's sad, and it's not a conspiracy. Like, I am the furthest dude from like conspiracy. I'm as real as they get. Like, I don't think about crazy nonsense. I don't use drugs. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a psycho. This is reality. This is what happens. It's the system. And they don't like people like me that will come out that have an actual platform that tell the truth. But I was telling you before, you know, and I talk about this on every podcast I'm on. It's taken me 40 some years to discern what God wants me to do. And it finally clicked now because I was finally ready. I wasn't ready before. And this is, I tell my wife sometimes when she's frustrated on my time that I love her and I put my family first, but I am on a mission right now, and I have the opportunity. I'm doing what I'm told, and that's it. You know what I mean? I understand what I'm told finally, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, let's get into ApoB. Can you tell people what that is, how it relates to this whole scenario?
Yes. So when we're talking, and mind you, this is not a regular blood test. Okay. So you have to go and request this just like you do with the LP(a). So ApoB is going to play like a really important role in the transport of cholesterol and other lipids within your bloodstream. Okay. It's also a component of lipoproteins like LDL. And so it's another form of bad cholesterol. And so when you have a really high level of ApoB, you're at a very, very high increase of cardiovascular disease. And the reason is because ApoB is like a really important factor in the formation of atherosclerosis, which is plaque buildup. Okay. So when you have a high ApoB, chances are that you probably are either on the verge of, or more than likely you have an accumulation of plaque. To what extent, I don't know, because I don't know the length of time. That would be done through like first getting a calcium score. If the calcium score is scary, then a CT angio or a clearly one of those tests. CT angio will basically, that's when they inject the dye into you, which is kind of weird feeling, but they do that to get a clear picture. They can give you, they'll give you the exact amount of blockage and location. The thing is, with the clearly, it will tell you the amount of soft versus hard plaque, which is very important, because while you don't want any blockage, the soft plaque is the dangerous one, because that's the one that could potentially break off and cause, you know, the blockage that could cause a heart attack. Of course, you want your arteries to not be hardened or closed down, but at least with the hardened plaque, you know it's hardened. So that's what the clearly test will do, which is, you know, very good. So with ApoB, it's different because lifestyle and medications can lower it. So fixing your diet, fixing your exercise. Now, look, you're going to go to the doctor and they're going to tell you to avoid saturated fats. Okay. Now, I'm firmly against like your seed oils and things like that, but they demonize certain fats that I can prove to you is BS too, because my blood panel argues completely different, and I teach it and I know it and I understand it. Animal proteins and these fats that are so good that we need are so heart healthy. Yeah. And for the life of me, you know, okay, not to go off topic too much, but just to give you an understanding, I've had like eating disorders and dysmorphia my whole life. I've been a model, I've been in I've been in everything. So you can imagine the stress. And I'm not ashamed to talk about it now because I think it helps people.
Yes.
You know, I was eating this strict even though that I teach one way, right? Hypocritical, like I know the importance of fats and everything. I was eating this such restricted, low fat, barely any fats diet, living off plants, and then I have all of these problems, all of these heart related problems, all these things. The minute, and God bless my wife, she's lived with me and dealt with this for she met me. In October this year, I had this breakthrough with just prayer and understanding. And I walked in one day and I told her, I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. And she's like, what do you mean? She's like scared. Like, you don't tell, you know, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm done with this living in hell. I said, here's what I want to do. We're going to go to Whole Foods today. I said, I'm just going to start trying everything. And she's looking at me like, who are you? Right. And I said, I'm literally the only fat I ever ate was peanut butter every day, just a little bit, no other fats, 15 grams of fat a day. Now, mind you, I'm burning 3,000 calories a day in exercise and then another, 2,500 sedentary and only eating 1,600 calories a day and no fats. Mm-hmm. So imagine, how am I even functioning? So now I'm eating 110, 120 grams of fat a day, very moderate carbohydrates, super high protein, 300 grams of protein, half a pound of good lean, either venison, elk, bison, or ground beef every day, almost a pound of salmon or sea bass or cod or every day, avocados every day, grass-fed butter every day. And my blood panels have never looked so good and I've never felt so good.
I just want to stop you real quick and highlight the fact that I talk a lot about wild animal protein and that venison and bison and elk and lamb and wild salmon. That is what your body's craving because our soils are so depleted. Mm-hmm. The chicken and the conventional beef have been hijacked and, they've got these amyloid proteins in them that can cause other issues. That's a whole nother topic. But you are finally giving your body what it's asking for. And it's like, thank you, God. And now I can raise my metabolism. My brain can get some fuel and some energy. I can maybe lower that stress that you and I as type A personalities just naturally have. And I also want to commend you for being so open because you think of restrictive eating for women only. Mm-hmm. And it's something that a lot of men struggle with. My husband always comes back from the gym and has these conversations with these men that are jacked at 60 and 70 years old. They're on the testosterone, they're on the stem cells, they're on the steroids because it's all about looking good. But then you really don't know what they're doing to their bodies on the inside. And it is about vanity. And it's hard in this world of social media and being out there to not look amazing mm-hmm. and not to feel enough. And so to take that leap that you did, I really commend you because I know how hard that is. I mean, as a woman, I live in Southern California. I feel all of the pressures. I grew up in this area where it puts Beverly Hills to shame as far as the plastic surgeries and the Botox and all of the things. And it really highlights the trust and the faith. And you knew instinctually inside that you weren't giving your body what it needed.
Oh, yeah. Of course I know. And I still did it anyway, which makes it even worse. But instead of like going back and letting that bother me, I just thank God I figured it out and that I listened and I was doing it. So here, think about this. One, I don't think I had eaten ground beef or meat in 15 or 20 years. Two, I had never in my life eaten elk, bison, venison, everything I just listed. Now I do a rotation. So I do half a pound and I do the ancestral one, which has the liver and heart in it. So you've heard of forces of nature, right?
I just had it for lunch. I had my ancestral blend of the venison with a few vegetables mixed in. And it's my go-to lunch because I cook it within 3 minutes and I'm ready to go.
Well, check this out. So not only did I switch to that out of nowhere, I was with my wife at Whole Foods and I said, she's like, what are you looking at? And I said, I've never had any of this before. I said, screw it, throw it in there. Let's just try it. I said, if I don't like it, what's the worst? I lost $14, you know?
Right.
I mean, I don't want to sound like casual with money, but I mean, what's the worst? It's not going to hurt me. Anyway, so I start eating these and my eyes like are bulging every time I eat them, and she's laughing, right? Because it's like this aha moment. Well, I wrote Forces of Nature and told them. And so now like I'm interviewing their CEO, they're sending me this big box, like, and I'm starting to do work with them. And then I got invited to do this thing in Wyoming in August, and I'm actually going to sit and taste all of these different steaks from the best breeders around the world. I'm going to be a judge on the show and everything. So I went from, and I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian. I'm a big animal lover, by the way, but I'm not, and I hadn't eaten it in years, to now I'm judging competitions, and it's like my whole life, you know, and it's just like this. But I appreciate and understand, and all the people that I interview or talk to or that I look up to for information, they're all so pro animal proteins and fats. And I'm telling you too, aside from the times where I've either used performance enhancing drugs or like in my early 20s I haven't been this cut up ever. And I don't use anything, but I'm on TRT, but I use nothing else. And I'm eating 1,000 more calories than I was a day.
Yeah.
And
because your body's trusting you, and it's now, and that animal protein increases that metabolism, the thermic effect. So you're burning some of the calories just through the heat created. And that's what I've noticed. The more calories I increase, the more protein that I eat, I actually can stay lean and actually build that lean muscle in that perimenopausal age that is so difficult for us women to even hold on to our muscle. But you also feel good, and your skin looks better, and your hair feels better, and you have more energy, more stable energy. And for our spouses, we're a lot nicer to be around, probably, because our brain is getting the fuel that it wants, right?
You know, Sarah, I will sit here and I have to work. I work 7 days a week because I'm doing so many different things. And I would sit here, and I mean, I'd barely get 30 minutes into what I'm doing, and I'd be either a real jerk, real snappy, you know, real short, and like just foggy, couldn't focus. I'm starving, and get up and I'd go snack on vegetables all day long. That's all I would do. And I'm constantly hungry now. Like I've barely eaten today, but I had an avocado, some whole eggs, in some Greek yogurt, high proteins. And right here, I'm drinking, I use SCT oil instead of MCT in my coffee. And then I just a little bit of grass-fed butter, and I am smoking. I barely slept like 5 hours last night because I was up so late working. And I should be so tired. I had a stressful deal before as I was talking to you, and I'm amped, and I could talk to you all day about this. And I should be tired and exhausted, but because of the good nourishment, and mind you, I don't encourage the lack of sleep, just to throw that in, but it happens. But if you're nourished, you can get through it, you know? And so it's really a big thing. And then like what you were talking about, I've really spent a lot of time the past 4 months focusing on women in menopause, discussing how to gain muscle, helping them overcome different side effects that occur during menopause, all aspects really, from, you know, bone degradation to even dealing with emotional, you know, problems. And I was on JJ Virgin's podcast recently, and we had a big discussion on the importance of muscle, doing it. And, you know, for me, creatine's a big thing, especially I've got my mom on it that's 72. My wife is 48, you know, and I got teenagers that I put, I mean, that's what it's one of those things, you know, that's important, especially for muscle. And I think people don't understand the importance of muscle and what sarcopenia is as you get older, and how detrimental that is to like killing you, you know, and so that's another big one in terms of muscle as you age, especially, but really your whole life, you know. And I sat in some conferences that were discussing diets on GLP-1s and helping people to properly eat so they're not destroying themselves when they take like Ozempic or tirzepatide, or, you know, I do a lot of studies on peptides, like, you know. And so for me, figuring out the diet aspect, and everything revolves around diet, you know that. I mean, it really does. Everything health related.
What's so interesting is the doctors are telling you to lower that saturated fat, lower the animal protein intake for your overall health. And without that muscle, you are going to shorten your longevity. Muscle is that number one organ for longevity. And it is so underrated. And that's where you've got to prioritize that protein. I use essential amino acids as well, which is a great way to have that lean bulk for you women. Women, you will not get bulky. I promise. I try every single day and I can't do it. So it's that muscle. I mean, as we're talking about heart health and cholesterol and, making sure we're not dying early, you need to focus on the muscle and the diet. And no, you're not supposed to eat the McDonald's hamburger. No. That is bad for your heart. It's not the meat patty. It's the fact that the meat patty is not real meat and it's full of a whole bunch of other stuff that is bad for your heart, plus the bun and the seed oils and the French fries that are going with it. By the way, have you ever seen the McDonald's French fries under a microscope and seen all the parasites and the worms crawling around? You'll never want to touch another French fry ever again. So with that being said, I know you focus, and I can't believe how quickly time has gone with you, Dylan, but I want to just touch on the importance of mitochondrial health, because I always say you are only as healthy as your mitochondria.
Oh boy. So I didn't get into this totally with you, but I did, kind of write it to you a little bit. So, let me just take you back just like 2 months. So I went to the A4M conference there. And so I don't really seek companies out. They kind of come to me to market for them or whatever. But I specifically, when I went to that expo, was seeking out Timeline Nutrition because of Mitopure. Okay. And just in short, and I don't want to, I'm not trying to do a promo here by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm explaining my role in mitochondria and what I learned and why. So my goal was to go there to tell them, I want to work with you, not as an affiliate, not as an influencer, because I have never seen something like this before that I've been doing in the supplement industry over 15 years. And I've never seen anything that addresses mitochondrial health that actually creates and stimulates mitophagy to repair a mitochondria to help us live longer. And I'm in two cellular health courses right now, cellular biology at like this Harvard night class. And then Dr. Elizabeth Yurth has me in her cellular health coach class. So, and here's the funny thing, you know what my least favorite subject was my whole life? Biology. I hated it. And now it's I'm enthralled in it. I can't take it. But anyway, I don't want to get off topic. So what I've learned, and which all diseases, everything that we have, it all originates in our cells. Every problem that we have starts there. Cancer, everything. When you have poor cell health, it is going to, that's how you die. Our cells start to die and then we start to die, right? And for people that are listening, your cell membrane, your mitochondria, and your nucleus, those are there's tons of parts of a cell, but those are the most important parts. Well, your mitochondria is where you create your ATP for your energy, right? So it's the powerhouse of your cell. When you can repair that, because mitochondrial health is everything for our long-term health and to slow down our aging process, right? So having the ability to stimulate mitophagy, which will repair your, we'll just call them injured mitochondria or damaged, that's going to then help to prevent disease, and it's going to help you live longer, and it can boost, there's studies, and I'm full proof of it. It's gotten me stronger. It's boosted my endurance. There's a slew of other effects. My main concern, though, with that is not so much the physical, improvements there. It's we're living longer and we're mitigating and preventing disease from even starting, right? And that's how we do it. It starts in the cells. Now, gut is the secondary thing I would say is the most important, but it starts in the cells, right? So mitochondria, I'm enthralled in it, and just like I can't get enough of the information. I can't. I'm still learning by the day, so I'm not an expert, but I went from 0 to 1 million in 2 months because I can't stop reading and learning.
And of course, your mitochondrial health will affect your heart health, will affect the way you process cholesterol. And right. Something that we're seeing is that with the spike protein, A lot of cholesterol levels are going up out of nowhere. No change in diet, no change in exercise, no change in sleep or stress or anything like that, because your liver is where it processes cholesterol, and your liver has been hijacked by the spike protein, which is also causing thyroid issues and high levels of iron and ferritin out of the blue in people that have never had those issues. So when you don't have healthy ATP or healthy mitochondria in your liver cells, in your heart cells, in your brain, you will die. It is the life force of you. And guess what holds a lot of mitochondria? Muscle. So it all comes together, right? I mean, yes, we started out talking about LP little a and something that's genetic and it's kind of out of your control, but there's all of these other factors that, okay, we can control it to a certain extent, and we're going to do, it's not a but, it's an and we're going to incorporate the right proteins, the right fuels, the right sleep regimens, the right exercise things to increase the mitochondrial health, to overcome some of these weaknesses in our genetic dispositions. I've got the 2 genes for Alzheimer's from both parents. Thank you, parents. What a gift, right? So you better believe I'm doing everything I can for my brain and for my mitochondria. And I'm staying away from the processed foods and the alcohol and the drugs and everything else like that. Thank goodness I knew way back when that I had an extremely addictive personality and genetic predisposition with lots of alcoholism and drug deals and in my system or in my bloodline, so that I knew not to engage in it from a very young age. Thank goodness, because that has made it so that I am preventing some of these other diseases that could take hold of my body. And you know, we're salmon swimming upstream in this new environment, the environmental toxins. You had mentioned glyphosate before we came on. That's hijacked our gut. Yeah. So all of these things are coming at us. We're not living in the world that our grandparents lived in. And we've got to take a lot more precaution.
I couldn't agree more. And there's so many different things that are going on right now to be aware of. And it's sad, but it takes us to get this out there. I mean, we just covered several things, but there's like a million other things to cover. It would take us weeks to go through all of the things that we have to be aware of and to look out for. And I know it's overwhelming. And look, I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, but we know, and the more of these things that we do, the more things we implement, whether it's trying to eat more organic foods to get away from the glyphosate, whether it's getting up and walking in the morning, whether it's sleeping that extra 30 minutes to an hour, some of the most basic things. Yes, it does get more complex. Yes, it absolutely does. But the more that you do, the more that you can ensure that you're taking the steps to have a better quality of life. And you need to think about this too. You don't have to accept bad health. That's not something you have to accept. And you're not just doing it for yourself. There's always somebody else that relies on you, depends on you, cares about you. And if nothing else, if you think you don't, then God does. And you're supposed to take care of the gift that you were given. So at the least, which is still the most, because it should be number one, is to think about him. But then think about the other people around you too, because there's always somebody it affects. I didn't think about these things until I started making mistakes. And like my mom would ask me why I'm so selfish, or my wife would say, what if something happened to you? And then when I realized, like, man, like, what's wrong with you? Think about other people too, because not only that, you're setting an example for people around you as well. So I'm not trying to lecture. I'm just making a true and accurate statement that what you do affects a lot of other people and yourself.
I just got the chills because you're so spot on. It's not about us. It's not, our life is not about you and me. It's about a bigger purpose, a bigger plan. And we just need to walk in faith, one foot in front of the other, right, and just trust and do. But that doesn't mean not being proactive in taking care of yourself and taking care of the people around you and doing your best, showing up every day in doing your best. So Dylan, I could talk to you for hours, but I want to be respectful of your time. Tell people where they can find you and work with you.
Yes, I made it very simple for social media. Everything is at Dylan Gemelli. My Instagram's my biggest. I have TikTok. I hate it. I use it only for like my promotions. You're not gonna, if you message me on there, you're not gonna get me. I'm sorry. I just use it to put stuff up. Instagram's the best place to get me, or you can follow like my podcast is everywhere. Dylan Gemelli podcast, Apple, Spotify, all of those. My YouTube channels, or just Google me. But at dylangemelli@gmail.com. I try to be as responsive as I can. I'm not one of those people that thinks they're above that or better than that. And if I can't, you're normally going to get a response as quick as I possibly can, because I actually do care and I'm human. So yeah, it's pretty simple.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I have a feeling we're going to have to do this again. So I so appreciate you and the work you're doing.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, and I really enjoyed it.
Wow, I could talk to Dylan forever, and we touched on a lot of things. We touched on heart health and cholesterol. I've always been flagged red for my cholesterol. I haven't had my LP little a tested. That's something I'm definitely going to do. But we ended with mitochondrial health, and really we are only as healthy as our cells. So I just wanted to touch on two things that will boost that mitochondrial health, in addition to what Dylan was talking about, and that is iodine. We are iodine deficient, and the need for iodine is higher than ever before. And why? Because the number one cause for mitochondrial failure is iodine deficiency. Let me say that again. The number one cause for mitochondrial failure is iodine deficiency. And it helps enhance that ATP production to its maximum level per mitochondria. You need that iodine inside the cell to increase that mitochondrial health, that ATP. You need iodine on the cell membrane to get the toxins out of the cells and the nutrients in. We're talking about the nutrients from wild animal protein. We can't get the nutrients in if they're overstuffed with these glyphosate, artificial sweeteners, artificial ingredients, chemicals, heavy metals, all the things. Those are our fat cells. So we need to be able to get those toxins out. You need a healthy cell membrane, and you need iodine and lipids or fat for that cell membrane health. You need iodine outside the cell to clean the blood so the liver can do its job. We're talking about liver. The liver is where all your cholesterol is made and processed and metabolized. So if our liver health isn't good, then our health isn't good. And you cannot have a healthy metabolism and a healthy thyroid health without iodine. That iodine molecule is the 3 and 4 molecules of iodine for that T3 and T4 thyroid hormone. It increases oxygen utilization. It reduces oxidative stress and free radical damage. It supports the detoxification of the mitochondrial toxins, the fluoride, bromine, chlorine, and it helps remove these toxins. So the other thing it does, it plays a critical role in the cardiac mitochondria and the electrical conduction of the heart. It helps that steady heartbeat, prevents any arrhythmia, lowers the inflammation, lowers C-reactive protein. We were talking about that. It prevents arterial plaque buildup and the heart attacks. It balances blood pressure. So many things that are really important for the heart health, for the liver, for the thyroid, for the brain. Did you know that iodine deficiency is the number one cause of depression? How many of you are suffering from mood disorders? It is really important for that as well. Now, in addition to the acceleridine iodine, because that is the only iodine that is monoatomic, one molecule of iodine, go back to that chemistry class, and that means that it has close to 100% bioavailability throughout the whole body, unlike most iodine supplements. It's enhanced with scalar frequencies to increase the efficacy, increase the detoxification of the cells, and overall health. Then paired with that is the accelerated liver care. It clears out mitochondrial toxins. The liver is responsible for processing and eliminating the mitochondrial toxins, heavy metals, metabolic waste, and remember the cholesterol. It has to use the good cholesterols and the bad cholesterols throughout the body to do their jobs and get rid of what we don't want. It optimizes fat metabolism for energy production, helps with bile production. You're going to see things come out of you once you start taking the accelerated liver care that you've never seen before, which is a good thing. We want to get all that stuff out. It reduces systemic inflammation, helps with the regenerating the liver cells as well, balances the cholesterol, prevents arterial plaque as well, helps support that bad estrogen, the estrogen dominance that most of you are suffering from. It also helps with blood sugar balance and reduces insulin resistance. So many things that the Accelerating Iodine and Accelerated Liver Care are doing for you to help with that heart health, help with the cholesterol, help with your mitochondrial health, and the overall body. Because it isn't just one magic pill for everything, right? It takes the diet, it takes the supplements, it takes the sleep, the exercise, the lowered stress to achieve your optimal state of health. And we are in a society now where we're having to work harder. So thanks for listening. Our discussion does not have to stop here. If you're feeling lost in the supplement world, I'm here to help. I know it can be confusing. You can start by getting your free supplement protocol at SaraBantaHealth.com. I will personally put together a protocol for you. You can follow me on social media at Accelerated Health Products and join the free group coaching on Telegram. There's no downside. I will answer your questions, post tips and tools on a daily basis to keep you moving forward. And you can find this podcast and all of my podcasts at Accelerated Health with Sara Banta on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, E360, iHeartRadio, Amazon, and over 100 other different platforms. Share this podcast. How many of you are suffering from cholesterol? How many of you ever even heard of Lp(a)? Not many. It's something we need to spread the word on. And you can use coupon podcast10 to get 10% off your first order. Remember, I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so join me next time for more ways to unlock your health potential.